Once celebrated for their captivating performances and charm, the cast of Alice faced unimaginable challenges after accidents turned their lives upside down. Dreams were shattered, and paths once paved with promise became uncertain and tumultuous. In 2025, we revisit their journeys of struggle, resilience, and redemption. How did they overcome the hurdles, and where have their stories led them? These tales of human strength and vulnerability are sure to resonate deeply and leave a lasting impression. Beth Holland, who portrayed the quirky and endearing waitress Vera Louise Gorman, was 33 years old when she brought the shy, accident-prone character to life. Her gentle, wide-eyed innocence endeared her to millions. But away from the set, Beth battled severe social anxiety that intensified after Alice ended. Following the show's success, her acting opportunities dwindled, and she withdrew from the public eye. She was married to actor Charles Kimbrough, but their marriage was strained by her emotional distance and long bouts of depression. The couple never had children, a silent grief Beth carried. Her relationships with her family were equally strained, particularly with a sister she stopped speaking to after a bitter inheritance dispute. Beth suffered 5 nervous breakdowns between 1989 and 2008, each forcing her into prolonged seclusion. She turned to painting in later years, though few ever saw her work. When she passed away quietly on December 31, 2015, at age 74, few outside close friends even knew. She had requested no funeral or public announcement, her death only revealed months later. Her estate was valued at approximately $700,000, much of it left to an animal rescue organization in New Mexico. Vic Tayback, who played the gruff but lovable diner owner Mel Sharples, was 46 when he stepped into the role that defined his career. Known for his bark being worse than his bite, Vic's on-screen persona became iconic. But his real life was far more complex. A heavy drinker throughout the 80s, Tayback struggled with alcoholism after the show's end, citing the industry's disinterest in his talents beyond Mel. He was married to Sheila Barnard, and though they had one son, Christopher, their household was fraught with tension. Vic had numerous affairs and often disappeared for days, claiming to be working on something big, projects that never materialized. His career sharply declined, and his health deteriorated. He suffered 2 heart attacks prior to the fatal one that claimed him on May 25, 1990, at just 60 years old. Friends noted he died bitter and somewhat forgotten, despite his popularity. He left behind a modest estate of roughly $500,000, mostly tied up in unpaid taxes and legal fees. His ashes were scattered in the Pacific, as per his wish. Linda Lavin, who portrayed the strong-willed single mother Alice Hyatt, was 39 when she began the role that would make her a household name. Alice was tough, kind, and resilient, qualities Linda shared, though her personal life was far less stable. She married 3 times, first to actor Ron Liebman, later to Kip Niven, whom she met on the Alice set, and finally to musician Steve Bakunis. Her marriage to Niven was tumultuous, marred by jealousy and rumored infidelity. She had one son, Nathaniel, from her second marriage, but they became estranged after a bitter legal battle over royalties from her TV work. After Alice, Linda struggled to recapture her fame. Her return to Broadway brought limited success but little personal fulfillment. She suffered several tragedies: her sister's suicide in 1992, a house fire that destroyed decades of memorabilia, and years of financial mismanagement that reduced her fortune. Now 87, she lives alone in North Carolina, mostly retired, rarely seen in public. Her estate is estimated at $1.2 million, sustained through residuals and frugal living, though she reportedly remains haunted by regrets over her fractured family and lost fame. Polly Holliday, who played the brassy, no-nonsense Flo Castleberry, was 39 when she became a breakout star, coining the famous line, "Kiss my grits!" Her sharp wit and southern sass made Flo a fan favorite. But Polly's off-screen life was marked by loneliness and heartache. A lifelong bachelorette, she entered several long-term relationships with men who ultimately abandoned her, one leaving after 15 years for a younger actress. She never married and had no children, something she once admitted she regretted deeply. Her relationship with her younger brother, a pastor, fractured over her decision to play openly sexual characters, leading to decades of silence. After leaving Alice for the spin-off Flo, her career faltered. She faced typecasting and ageism in Hollywood. Depression plagued her for years, and she withdrew from public life after a breast cancer diagnosis in 2004, which she overcame physically but not emotionally. Now 86, Polly lives in assisted care in Gainesville, Georgia, seldom visited and mostly forgotten by Hollywood. Her estate is estimated at $900,000, mostly tied to residuals and a small inheritance from her late parents. Her life, once full of laughter, has grown quiet, marked by reflection and regret. Philip McKeon, who portrayed Tommy Hyatt, was just 12 years old when he began playing Alice's sweet and curious son. His innocent demeanor and youthful sincerity endeared him to audiences, but behind the scenes, McKeon's life was often overshadowed by the pressures of early fame. After Alice ended, he struggled to transition into adult roles, facing years of professional rejection that led to depression and substance abuse. He never married but had a long-term relationship with producer Lisa Marin that ended painfully in 2003. He fathered one son, Jacob, whom he raised privately while battling inner turmoil. His relationship with his family, including his famous sister Nancy McKeon, was distant in his later years due to personal demons and financial struggles. McKeon suffered from chronic health issues including a blood disorder and died on December 10, 2019, at the age of 55 from complications related to a prolonged illness. At the time of his death, his estate was modest, estimated at around $300,000, largely consisting of residuals and a small home in Texas where he spent his final years in seclusion. Celia Weston, who played the kind-hearted and down-to-earth Jolene Honeycutt, was 30 when she joined the cast, offering a southern warmth that contrasted with the show's urban backdrop. Though celebrated for her versatility and depth, Weston's post-Alice career never reached the heights many had hoped for. Often typecast, she took on character roles in indie films and TV, many of which went unnoticed. She married set designer Howard Fenley in 1984, a union plagued by infidelity and emotional distance. They quietly divorced in 1997. The couple had no children. In interviews, Weston admitted to a deep sense of loneliness and regret over not starting a family. She has dealt with periods of severe anxiety and an ongoing battle with arthritis that limited her stage work. Despite these struggles, she remains a respected figure in the theater community. Now 73, she lives alone in a modest home in South Carolina. Her estate is currently valued at approximately $1.5 million, largely from property and acting royalties. Marvin Kaplan, who portrayed the eccentric telephone lineman Henry Beesmeyer, was 51 when he brought the awkward yet lovable character to life. Known for his neurotic humor and gentle delivery, Kaplan was a scene stealer in every episode. Yet, his off-screen life was a quiet battle with obscurity and loneliness. After Alice, Kaplan found few acting opportunities and turned to voice work to survive financially. He never married, reportedly due to a long unrequited love for a fellow actress who married someone else. Isolated from his family and plagued by chronic depression, Kaplan spent many of his later years caring for his ailing sister, sacrificing much of his own life in the process. He lived modestly in a small apartment in Burbank, where neighbors often described him as friendly but profoundly withdrawn. He died on August 25, 2016, at age 89, from natural causes. His estate, composed mainly of savings, modest investments, and minimal royalties, was estimated at $250,000. Dave Madden, who played the cantankerous but lovable Earl Hicks, joined Alice at 47, bringing with him the dry wit and comic timing honed from his years on The Partridge Family. Though he brought laughter to millions, Madden's personal story was marked by heartbreak. His marriage to writer Sandra Lister in 1965 ended in a bitter divorce marked by custody disputes over their two children, Allison and Trevor. He later remarried therapist Mary Frances, but the couple remained childless and separated quietly in 2001. Madden struggled with alcoholism for many years, a problem he kept private until a rehab stint in the late 90s. His strained relationship with his children remained unresolved at the time of his death. Retiring from Hollywood in the early 2000s, he lived in relative obscurity in Florida, where he passed away from congestive heart failure on January 16, 2014, at age 82. His estate, valued at approximately $500,000, consisted mainly of retirement funds and modest royalties from reruns. Charles Levin, who portrayed Elliot Novak on Alice, was 39 years old when he took on the role of Vera's eccentric yet endearing fiancé. His comedic timing and offbeat charm added a quirky depth to the show. Off-screen, Levin's life was riddled with quiet sorrow. Though he married Broadway actress Catherine DeHetra in the early 80s, the couple faced unspeakable tragedy when their son Jesse died in a car accident at age 19. The grief fractured their marriage, which ended in a painful divorce in 1993. Levin struggled to find steady work after Alice, relegated to brief guest appearances and voiceover gigs, none of which brought him peace or recognition. Financial instability plagued his later years, and he withdrew from Hollywood entirely in the 2000s, living in seclusion in Oregon. In 2019, his body was discovered in a remote area after he went missing, having reportedly fallen down a ravine while trying to find help for a disabled vehicle. He was 70. His death was ruled accidental, though friends believed loneliness and depression contributed to his demise. Levin's estate was modest, estimated at $100,000, largely consisting of residuals and a small pension. Diane Ladd, who played the spirited and sassy Belle Dupree, was 44 when she joined Alice as a former singer with a fiery temper and an even fiercer wit. Ladd's performance brought fresh energy to the show and redefined the aging female character archetype on television. Though her career saw peaks with roles in acclaimed films, personal heartbreak followed her relentlessly. She married actor Bruce Dern in 1960, and they had two daughters, Diane Elizabeth and Laura. The death of their first daughter at just 18 months old shattered their marriage, which ultimately ended in 1969. Her relationship with Laura Dern has often been strained, complicated by jealousy, competition, and generational trauma. Ladd remarried but faced emotional abuse and a second painful divorce in the 80s. She endured a series of strokes in her 70s and faced bankruptcy in 2009 after a failed investment. Despite these setbacks, she continued working and writing, though largely out of financial necessity. Now 90, she lives a quiet life in California, often alone, relying on caretakers. Her estate is estimated at $1.2 million, much of it tied to her early real estate holdings and residuals. Martha Raye, who portrayed Carrie Sharples, the brash and bawdy ex-wife of Mel, brought riotous energy to Alice in her 60s. Behind the scenes, Raye's life was marred by personal tragedies that overshadowed her fame. Married 7 times, each union ended in heartbreak or betrayal. Her longest marriage, to makeup artist Mark Harris, was deeply controversial and allegedly exploitative. She had one daughter, Melody, with whom she had a turbulent and distant relationship. Raye battled alcoholism for decades and underwent multiple hospitalizations for depression and pill overdoses. A patriot at heart, she performed tirelessly for troops in World War II and Vietnam, but her devotion left her isolated and exhausted. Financial mismanagement and medical bills forced her to sell many of her possessions late in life. She suffered a series of strokes, losing the ability to speak in her final years. Raye died in 1994 at the age of 78 from pneumonia. She was buried with full military honors, a testament to her USO service. Her estate at the time of death was estimated to be under $250,000, with much of her assets liquidated to cover debts. Victoria Carroll, who played Marie Massey, was 36 years old during her stint on Alice, portraying a bubbly and ever-optimistic waitress. A former dancer-turned-character actress, Carol lit up every scene she appeared in, though her time on the show was short-lived. Her post-Alice career dwindled into obscurity, and she often lamented being typecast. Married to actor Michael Bell, their union was rocked by infidelity and long absences due to work commitments. They had one daughter, Ashley, who suffered from substance abuse throughout her 20s, something Carol kept hidden from the public. Behind her cheerful screen presence was a woman battling anxiety and stage fright, which worsened with age. Carol also quietly endured a breast cancer diagnosis in the early 2000s, which she overcame after years of treatment, though the experience left her emotionally drained and physically weakened. Now 84, she lives in quiet retirement in Palm Desert, rarely making public appearances. Her estate is estimated at $800,000, primarily from voiceover royalties and careful financial planning, though she remains haunted by the roles that never came. Kip Niven, who portrayed Steve, was 31 years old during his stint on Alice, playing a charming and good-natured boyfriend to the title character. His brief arc left a lasting impression due to his natural warmth and charisma. Off-screen, Niven's life was riddled with profound tragedy. He was married to actress Linda Lavin for 10 years, a union marked by professional rivalry and emotional distance. They had one son, Jeremy, whose struggles with addiction strained the family further. Following their divorce, Niven remarried, but the relationship dissolved after the sudden death of his daughter Natalie in a car accident, leaving him emotionally fractured. He endured financial hardship in the late 90s after a failed investment in a regional theater company. He also suffered from chronic health issues that left him largely housebound in his final years. Despite sporadic television appearances, his career never recovered after the early 1980s. Kip Niven died on May 6, 2019, at the age of 73 from a heart attack, alone in his Kansas City apartment. At the time of his passing, his estate was estimated at $250,000, most of which went to his surviving son. He is remembered as a gentle soul haunted by loss. Robert Hogan, who played the affable and wise Father O'Hara, was 43 during his time on Alice. Known for portraying figures of quiet strength, Hogan's performance brought a touch of grounded spirituality to the sitcom. However, outside the spotlight, his life was a canvas of personal trials. Married to dancer Mary Barbera for over 30 years, their relationship was strained by long periods of separation and his battle with depression. The couple had 3 children, Thomas, Andrew, and Caroline, but Hogan's emotional withdrawal made family connections difficult. After a stroke in 2010, Hogan's ability to speak and move was severely impaired, ending his career prematurely. He spent his final years in assisted living, battling Alzheimer's disease, which stripped him of his identity and connection to loved ones. Despite being a recognizable face in television, he felt forgotten by the industry that once embraced him. Robert Hogan died on May 27, 2021, at the age of 87. His estate, diminished by medical expenses, was valued at $500,000 and was divided among his children. Michael Durrell, who portrayed the suave and mysterious Nick Stone on Alice, was 34 when he joined the show. He brought a smooth, enigmatic energy to the role, and though his character appeared briefly, Durrell was lauded for his stage presence. After Alice, he landed a few recurring roles but never found another breakout part. He married opera singer Eliza Morgan, but the marriage quickly soured due to his drinking and career frustrations. They had one daughter, Claire, who later distanced herself from him after a publicized domestic dispute. In the 1990s, Durrell's health began to falter, including a battle with prostate cancer, which he kept secret. His bitterness toward Hollywood's ageism and missed opportunities led him to live reclusively in Santa Fe, where he gave occasional acting workshops but largely avoided public life. Now 83, he lives alone in a modest home and rarely gives interviews. Despite the setbacks, Durrell still receives residuals from past TV work. His current estate is estimated at $1.2 million, mostly tied to property and careful investments made in the 1980s. Who is your favorite character from Alice? How does it feel knowing that some of the actors are no longer with us? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this type of content, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on future uploads. Thank you for your support.